that second pick as B-side. So I think getting the Kestrel just to counter it, as good a counter as you can to Idris, given that Glaives is off the fold, would work well for them.
Yeah, I mean, they could just go for the Lara pickup, band out Grace, just remove the other healer on the fold. They are going to settle for that, Vox. Rather interesting pickup because we know that Vox's items have been changed and we see the slight change as well. And on top of that, if you include his core build and his changes, it's quite a big nerf and a big hit onto that of Vox. But they are going to ban out that Taka for the side of Impunity after picking up that Vox. So honestly, I'm not surprised if they are going to settle for a Sky yet again, or they are just going to go for that Scarf. If not, then it rather matters Celeste for themselves. But Baptiste will be taken out for the second phase of that.
Yeah, they're just going to pick the Lyra now. Makes the most sense. The reason they banned Taka was because they didn't want to give it ASN the Idris Taka comp. They knew that if it wasn't banned and they didn't pick it, ASN were going to pick Idris Taka, and that's so hard to go against. Just ban it away. Baptiste is another smart ban because that's a really good flex pick instead of having to pick the Grace. They went for Grace over Lyra. That's interesting. I would have expected Lyra, but Grace works just as well. Maybe that's just more comfortable for Impunity. And yeah, the Taka ban was very important, and yeah, that means gives ASN a free choice for Lyra. I'd expect to see a Scarf now as the final pick, but they could go for something like a Crystal Black Feather. That could work, but yeah, there's not too much. I don't expect too much off meta from ASN at this point.
Yep, ASN tend to quite be with the meta and not try to pull out any weird comms. So, like you say, they might even just go for the Castro or just either of the majors would do very well for themselves right now, especially with that Idris that can go up into the side of Impunity, and Lara providing that extra sustain, and of course the zoning out coming up from Bright Bulwark, and of course they can just easily go for that Scarf. We've seen very great, performance coming out, but they will settle for that Celeste. A decent pickup, a rather very good pickup coming out from the side of ASN, just following that meta, not trying to try anything new, but it's just down to the side of Impunity now with Taka being banned out, with Baptiste being banned out. What other choices do they have? They can settle for that Cruel though, that traditionally does quite well into that Celeste. If not, then just try to outpoke Celeste in the early game with that Castro.
Yeah, Cool could work, but that would be forcing you to go double weapon and wouldn't be the best idea unless they go for the Storm Crown Aftershock kind of Cruel. I think they're going to go for Crystal Blackfeather. I would have gone for a Scarf or a Samuel to try and outpoke the Celeste, because Blackfeather can't really outpoke a Celeste. He's all about diving in this comp. Normally, Crystal Blackfeather has got quite a lot of poke, but compared to Celeste, he's going to be pretty hard pressed to actually land it. So I do like the draft that ASN have got. Idris is fantastic against Vox, and Celeste should be able to outpoke Blackfeather, but then again, Impunity play their comp so well. If Vox gets on top of Celeste really quickly, and if Blackfeather dives on top of Celeste, then she can't really run away. Blackfeather can dodge the stun, he can do tons of damage, he'll land on point pretty simply if it's at point blank range, and then Idris is kind of going to be not able to do as much damage quickly enough to save his Celeste.
Yeah, but we've seen a CP Blackfeather going up against Celeste in a 1v1, and burst-wise, Celeste definitely do come out on top. But as long as Blackfeather can continuously put out damage on that Celeste, then I think the side of ASN Esports, or rather the side of Impunity, can be up on this one, especially since, Vox will get his items much earlier as compared to an Idris per se, because the first item traditionally built on Vox would be that Poison Shift, and let's see if Vox would in this game will pick up that Poison Shift once again, because if he does, he has got extra sustain, more sustain as compared to this Idris. Granted, the Idris has got a Lyra, but overall that Poison Shield will give you an early game burst as compared to the Idris, because as Vox is so mobile, you can dodge out a lot of chakrams coming out from Idris as well. And on top of that, Grace just posed so much as an early game threat, and just basing it off the first game and how Impunity quite played the first game, they were very aggressive in the early game. I'm not expecting anything less coming out from the side of Impunity. So just a quick, tell me, Mini, which team do you think will come out in this? Because both teams, granted, they have got their pros and cons.
I quite like ASN's draft. I think that Idris is good, but then again, I think Impunity are going to be able to execute their comp better I think they're going to be able to dive on top of Celeste, execute her, and then Idris won't be dealing the damage. But the win condition for ASN is, I think Idris should build much more aggressive. He shouldn't build Poison Shiv. He should just go a lot of damage, maybe a Bone Saw, but almost definitely a Tension Bow, and just try and burst down either Black Feather or Vox. And so that leaves them in a good position to keep Celeste alive. I think if he tries to go for the sustain build, he won't beat Vox at the sustain. Grace will be able to heal them up, so he needs to burst someone down as quickly as possible. And then I think ASN have a chance, but I'm going to go for Impunity, and they're going to be able to dive Celeste and take her out.
Yep, Impunity looking like a very strong team based off the first game. And on top of that, on the charts as well, sitting at a very nice place, is second on the charts with 30 points as compared to ASN's 28 points. So if you do go for Impunity, then I must say ASN have got a harder comp to execute. But of course, thank you for that expert analysis. Now we will be handing this game, of course, not this game, but then your role on to I Request a Duo as he talks more about this game.
Hello once again. And yeah, right now, these teams looking pretty even from that draft phase. I would have to agree quite a bit with Minimaya there on what I said, and that it would be interesting to see Aeon maybe go a less sustainy build and try just go for burst and focus the getting onto the targets that hopefully Zyrono would be able to lock down with the core collapse. But in saying that, I do wonder, maybe Aeon would be safer going for a bit more of a sustained build, especially if you're jumping in there fighting up against the likes of Black Feather. I know it's a CP Black Feather in this case, so not as sustaining as a weapon power. So it is questionable as to what you're going to do. Oh, DevQ with a very nice Sonic Zoom over the wall just to get in range of Aeon. Isn't going to be able to pick up a kill just yet, but plays there so far. So I'm kind of stuck personally on who I think might have this one, but I think I'd have to agree and give it to Impunity.
Yep, I mean, Impunity would have that easier comp to execute at the end of it all, because, I mean, they have got a lot of dives in terms of that. Grace, of course, that Vox can kind of dive with Sonic Zoom to go into the backlines, remove Zyrono at firstly, and of course, with that, Impunity definitely would have that early game, and in saying that, they are all three men in lane trying to put as much pressure since Aeon 222 isn't there. They are going to rotate once again in members of three. And honestly, Impunity, they just seem so robust coming into this game, and especially the confident boost that they received in the first game going up against ASN Esports. So I'm not surprised if Impunity will put up a lot of pressure at this point in time. Zyrono will have to take some time to rev up into that of late game, or rather level 8. So that is one thing to consider as well. A lot of flashy wall jumps coming from DevQ there on that Vox, as we see him just once again just jumping through that wall to get to lane much faster.
Yep, so you can really tell that the micro plays that DevQ is able to put out, and especially just on both these teams at such a high level in the Vainglory 8 SEA. We're going to have a great match ahead of us, whether the team comps, whatever they are. And in this case, you're saying in terms of what's easier to execute being Impunity, but I think because these are such good teams in terms of their micro play and management, that they should be able to execute a team comp like they have on the side of ASN. Of course, you're going up against Impunity, who going to be quite tough to verse there, but we do see the potential, and that's what we really have to look at right now, is the potential. There's going to be the core collapse followed by the Heliogenesis and the cleanup for first blood. Just like that, ASN pulling through with a kill. Of course, a 3-on-1 situation. Vox a bit unaware. Quarterville was down in the jungle at the time, but I think that right now it shows that ASN have potential, and that's what we have to go off for the early game. And then how it's going to go into the mid to late, there's Zyrono on that Celeste, and I think that's going to be a strong point for ASN, as long as they can keep Zyrono alive. They have the Lyra there for the Imperial Sigil to support, as well as Bright Bulwark is going to help shut down, Black Feather when he dives in. So I'm starting to like a bit more of the side of ASN as we look deeper into that team comp.
But there is one thing though, DevQ not going for the traditional sponsorship as first item and instead opting for the Serpent's Mask. We do see Serpent's Mask once in a while on, a Fox when he tries to bring out something new, but what's more new than honestly that weapon-powered Sky we saw in the first game? So I'm not surprised if DevQ would just settle for that Serpent's Mask as first item just for that extra sustain, and then go into the breaking point, hopefully, and then after that, a lot more damage. So if we think about that, then for the late game, DevQ would have much more sustain, but Aeon would have a lot more damage.
Ooh, Tezboy gonna get caught out by the Holy Nova. Does get knocked up, but needs to be careful. He's gonna run back, uses the Imperial Citrus, stay alive. There's gonna be a soul lane, and they're gonna actually change their focus onto Aeon, who they're able to take down instantly. Now Aeon going for that Sorrow Blade, first pickup item there.
Yep, definitely. I mean, Sorrow Blade is quite the go-to for an Idris at the end of it all, because you want to unlock the Divergent path as soon as possible, and for gold ratio to the amount of weapon power it provides, Sorrow Blade is just much more worth it as compared to picking up like double heavy steel and then 116 or 316 if I'm not wrong, but I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that it's much more worth it, that Sorrow Blade ratio to its gold at least. But we do see though DevQ going for that Serpent's Mask and eventually building into the breaking point, and this is something that we saw a couple of patches back, this particular build up at least, with that Serpent's Mask as a first item on Fox, building into a weapon blade, and of course Swifty slowly into breaking point, grant you very good mid game into the late game.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. It's going to be tough with that in terms of the transitioning, but a lot of damage coming out from Aeon 2-2. I shouldn't say tough, it'll be tough for the opposing team, but right now you can see the Frostburn pickup on Zyronel really just focused on, I guess, game those picks, slowing them enemies down, and Blue City going to dodge out that Solar Storm coming through, but DevQ in a bad spot is caught in the middle of this one and is going to get taken down instantly. I really like the Frostburn pickup on the Celeste. I think it's great to go up against such a mobile team comp that Impunity is putting out, and yeah, I don't see why not to, instead of going for something, say like a Shatterglass first that some might, this Frostburn is definitely going to be a big good pickup here, and surely going to be followed through with the Eve second, because you still have to stay alive in these team fights. Of course, you have Tezzaboy there on the Lyra, but it's going to be just that extra amount of support, that extra amount of life steal and healing that you're going to get from that. And right now we see Aeon actually going down to the jungle with Zyronel. Not sure if he took any of that, because if we look at farm at the moment, Zyronel actually a bit behind DevQ, but going to be up to clear this lane, probably going to catch up by doing so.
Yep, he just went in for the Ambient Gold and the little experience that he will get, just so he might have that level advantage. But, honestly, ASN Esports coming into the second game between, them and Impunity, they are looking so much stronger. However, Impunity all three in lane trying to push this turret.
Yep, and there's going to be Quarterville going in deep, actually landing the Holy Nova, but no follow through the rest of the team, and they're just going to be standing around. The longer they wait, though, Zyronel's just going to get more of those Heliogenesis down and going to be able to land more Supernovas, or at least the possibility of doing so. There's going to be the Solar Storm. It's a shoot and a miss, but there's going to be the wait for him return, landing onto Aeon, pushing him back, and they're able to get a bit of poke off there, Blue City, especially if they're able to hit those on points on that CP Black Feather is going to be so crucial right now.
Tezzaboy getting very low with Blue City, and Blue City is really putting out that damage with that Shatter Glass and double Crystal Bit. Even Aeon, ooh, they are going in for a duo.
Wait, there's two duels going on. I can't watch them both. Aeon, meanwhile, in lane with Blue City. Blue City trying to catch him out with the on point, doesn't quite do it, and there's so much damage in return with the Chakram. Meanwhile, Quarterville putting some pressure on Tezzaboy, who is quite low in the jungle with Zyronel, however, so they did have the man advantage in that situation. But meanwhile, there's been a lot of pressure up in this lane. There's going to be an early Divine Intervention onto Blue City. They're actually going to back out of this one.
They are indeed, and I must say, Quarter 4 picking up that shatter glass, or I hope would be that shatter glass, as for as the third item, and then afterwards a contraption for that vision and extra cooldown as well. A very clever pickup. We do not see a lot of contraption being built up or wanting to be built up on that Grace, so quite innovative. I must be truthful here. But the set of Impunity, they are not playing as they are in that of the previous game at least. But I think it was just down to the team comp they are having now. They really want to work for the late game. They want to farm up first, get DevQ all the items that he needs. And one more thing as well, that ASN Esports not really giving the side of Impunity a lot of openings, although Impunity, yet again, all three in lane, hoping to push his turret.
Yeah, Impunity putting a lot of that focus up in this lane, definitely. They need to be careful by the rotations coming out from Zyra now on that Celeste. They do miss the core collapse, but that's going to be a window of 7 seconds for the side of Impunity to take advantage of, and they are going to do just as they pick up the kill onto Celeste, but kill as well onto Aeon, and now they have the man advantage, and they're going to return their attention to this lane instead. They know that this objective is going to be a lot more important than taking Goldmine. Goldmine isn't going anywhere, but this turret is going to go down for now. It's Impunity taking up the first turret of the game. That's really going to help them now for their rotations and just being able to stick together as a team, because we saw a lot of the early game Impunity kind of getting caught out, not as a team, and that's what was kind of falling through for them.
But I must say, this build that DevQ has decided to go for, really providing the sustain that he needs when he jumped in for that 1v3, trying to take out Zyra in the backlines when, although the side of ASN now going for the gold miner, but there will be contest.
Yeah, it's going to be Impunity pushing ASN away at the moment. Bright Bulwark has been used, so Impunity could still decide to jump in here, but there's a lot of damage to be wary of coming out from ASN. There's going to be Divine Intervention used onto DevQ, who's now moved his way back up into lane, and Blue City fairly low on that back lane. Unlike DevQ, does not have the sustain to stay in this fight, and there's no echo just yet, and it's actually not looking like there's going to be one. Maybe a Clockwork instead onto Cordoba.
No, definitely.
Oh, Cordoba going for a Shatter Glass, I just realized. I didn't pick up, but what Vox didn't notice was the Solar Storm coming for his face as he gets wiped out. ASN able to pick up a return kill, now putting the pressure on the first turret of Impunity. Should be able to take it. They have the man advantage right now, and there's going to be the Bright Bulwark to keep Black Feather out for just a second, but there's going to be the Holy Nova, and wow, the damage onto Cordoba as they follow through with that. Blue City trying to jump in, trying to save them, in the end gets himself killed as well. And that's going to be the shutdown. Going to get a bit of extra gold for that one. Not sure why the wait for it being used there. And Vox just going to have to back off, leave the gold mine, not going to contest that one. ASN able to kind of pull this one back, actually taking the gold lead now, seeing at 27.5k over 25.8. It's not by much, but they definitely pulled her around there.
Yep, I did say though, Quarter 4 opting to go for that Shatter Glass into Contraption as the third, and of course the second and third item is just quite innovative when you are playing Grace, because honestly, a lot of Grace that we've been seeing, it's either they build that Echo, and in the case of Quarter 4 in previous patches, not even that Echo. So seeing him change up for 2.7, it's quite good, quite refreshing to be exact. Going for the Contraption just for the extra cooldown is a sort of very good choice in terms of itemization, because you have got an extra cooldown, and on top of that, a lot of vision as well.
Yep, and we can see, yeah, a lot more pressure in lane once again. It looks like this is where the party's at, but you can see ASN on the aggression right now, starting to push Impunity back. There's going to be Cordoba one to jump in, but a lot of heliogenesis down and a lot of possible damage to be output by the side of ASN. They're going to try rotate down into the jungle by the looks of it, but Cordovar going to try jump into that one and gets caught out. There's the wait for it going straight down onto Lyra, but they're still going to continue to push through. No one quite able to find Zyrono. Black Feather's going to try divine intervention onto him, save him, and that's amazing. Core collapse coming out by Zyrono is able to shut down that box. Meanwhile, Blue City on the backline just going to poke in there with some damage, being able to pick up the kill onto Celeste, but Aeon still nice and healthy is going to go on the chase right now, trying to find Blue City. The Chakram going to go out, but it's going to get blocked. Blue City turning around with the on point. He doesn't have Barreau's offensive. He now has one. He can get away from this, and he's going to be able to. Barely. It really could have been an ace for ASN. They might have been able to get another turret or just half a gold mine out of it, but Blue City doing an amazing job of being able to escape that one. The timing on the reflex block just to deny the damage coming out of that Chakram.
Yep, definitely. But there is one thing though, ASN really looking like the monsters that they are. DevQ, however, just settling for that bone saw as an item rather than that tension bow. I'm not sure how relevant it is to pick up a bone saw as compared to a tension bow. Tension bow, I mean, for DevQ, for a bone saw to work optimally, you really need to attack one target for 8 basic attacks to just shred that armor down to deal as much damage as possible. Whereas for a tension bow, it is armor pierce at the end of the day, and it provides so much more utility for its price as compared to a bone saw. But let's just see how DevQ is playing this, because DevQ is really playing very haphazardly. If I'm honest, he's just going into a team of 3, trying to outplay the side of ASN, but constantly being caught out. And yet again, ASN may be looking for the side of Impunity. So far, they are doing for themselves relatively well, and that Shatter Glass not being quite helpful at this point in time, because you are only going to heal one target. You do not have a secondary divine intervention in the midst of a team fight in case any of the carries goes down. Granted, DevQ has got a lot of sustain on his kit. He has got the Serpent's Mask. He has got that breaking point. But Blue City is the one that is going in. He is going in for the fight into a team of 3. You really need that Echo at this point in time to just provide that extra sustain and of course extra healing for both teams like Lyra can. And there you go, all 3 in lane, just posturing for the next team fight that might happen just around Kraken.
Yeah, ASN once again being the one showing the aggression first. They need to be careful that I guess team comp or positioning doesn't just get pulled apart by Impunity, as they are able to dive in there. And if any CC is missed, like the crucial core collapse coming out from Zyrono, it could mean the team fight going over to Impunity instead. DevQ going for a fairly similar build to what we saw in the first game with that weapon power Sky picking up the Serpent's Mask breaking point, but this time going for a bone saw, wanting to break through some of that armor that is getting built up, like Aeon has got the Aegis, and then working on that coat of plates. By the looks of it, you can see Atlas already built onto Tezaboy, so a great item there to have is going to be able to slow down that box just a bit if it's able to land. I'd like to see a possible arcane passage into a bright bulwark, but maybe that's asking for a bit much from ASN, going a bit deep. And once Tezaboy is out of the fight, they don't have the Imperial Sigil to keep Zyrono alive. But right now, ASN, they've noticed that Impunity are backed off. They're going to start the Kraken. They've got it half health. Core Collapse was used on the Kraken. This could be a mistake for ASN as Aeon game poked down. Imperial Sigil going to be able to heal him up. They're going to have to back off from this one. Impunity not going to follow up with it, however, so Kraken just going to go for reset.
Yep, they are indeed. The side of Core Collapse used on Kraken proved to be quite deadly for the side of ASN Esports, as they really need that as a form of disengagement, if not then as a form of engagement itself. But ASN Esports, both ASN Esports and Impunity at this point in time will just reset, try to be infused before that next fight. However, ASN Esports definitely have got the upper hand right now, and they can choose to go for the Kraken as they have got the damage as well. ASN Esports, though, just roaming around in the jungle, not being very decisive as to what they are planning to go ahead, as if they do not have a proper shout caller for their side. They are just dancing around with the side of Impunity.
Well, it looks like a fight might break out here. Not quite. Both teams being cautious, knowing the next fight. We're 8 minutes 30, and the next fight really could mean Kraken almost game. I'm sure they'll be able to get a few turrets in. There's Tesboy going for the Arcane Passage into the Bright Bulwark. Doesn't actually find DefQ, and they're going to have to be on the run now by the looks of it. And I think that previously you saw ASN just roaming around in the enemy jungle a bit around Kraken Pit. They knew that if they went for it again, Impunity are already on the look. They have to take a team fight. They can't do the same strategy they were trying to pull off. They tried to sneak a Kraken, they got spotted out. Now Impunity are going to be very cautious about this. You can see Contraption and triple flares on Quarter War right now. So I think that ASN know they have to take this team fight. It's just about finding the right moment, finding Impunity caught out. There's going to be the Holy Nova wasted on Quarter War, and they're going to have to back out that fight. For now, ASN not wanting to go deep into the enemy jungle. They don't want to get pincered by Box, but they see Box up in lane. This could be the call to go in. Zaranul going to use those boots, but doesn't actually find anything right now. And this fight, it's not even a fight at this point. Both these teams just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to call this. They're kind of,
Just
no one
poking
wants to
around.
commit. No one wants to commit right now, and that's the problem. I'm not sure, Luxury. What do you want to say?
This
There's
may be the
abilities
time.
being used, but there really isn't anything going on, is there?
No, I mean, Quarter War just accidentally fire off Divine Intervention. If ASN actually did spot that out, ASN could have just dived onto Impunity at the point in time, but Impunity, or rather Quarter War himself, he has got 80% cooldown at this point in time, so wasting one Divine Intervention on something else.
Core Collapse is going to land. This could be the go sign, and it looks like they're going to go with it. The Heliogenesis are landing, but Grace is not the target at the moment. They need to get rid of this box, or the Black Feather. Core Collapse will land again, but this box too tanky, able to sustain through that, is able to pick up the kill onto Lyra and onto Tesboy, but Aeon is the last man standing and is going to go through with the triple kill, proving big for the team. They were too focused on Zaranul, forgetting the threat that is the weapon power Idris at this point, who's going to be able to push on through to this turret. He has 25 seconds until DefQ's up. I'm sure they'll be able to take 2 turrets with this minion wave they have currently. Aeon's going to commit. ASN, I don't think are the team to, play it a bit too passive. ASN, it's why they're up there with in the top 3 team range, that they're able to bring it to teams like Impunity, and they're able to know their own limits and play with their aggression. But Aeon need to be careful. DefQ on the hunt is going to be able to back away from that.
Yep, and on top of that, very good play, or rather very good engagement coming up from the side of ASN Esports, spotting the fact that Quarter War burned that fountain. When he was caught out, it was an insta-click. Quarter War was caught out, immediately burned fountain, and that is when ASN Esports decided to go in for that team fight. Granted, Zaranul did go down and went very low, and nothing much could have saved Zaranul because he was out of position at the end of the day. But a rather peculiar build coming out from Quarter War, not building much defenses, going forward, a lot of cooldown. For that matter, though, they are going to commit into another team fight. Aeon would be that target.
Yep, and it looks like just a bit more poke damage like usual between these two teams. Still playing it safe. Kraken's still up on the fold. And, even if they have only 2 turrets left on the side of Impunity, if ASN get this Kraken, they could win. But with the death time is getting longer and longer, it might even go over to the side of Impunity if they're able to win out the team fight. War Tread's going to be popped, but Tesboy taking a lot of damage here. They're feeding breaking point stacks to DefQ at this point, but he's going to back out of the fight. Blue City actually going to be caught up in it as the Solar Storm goes out, and Blue City going to be healed up by the Divine Intervention. DefQ going in a bit low. There's no coordination here between Impunity at the moment. ASN just breaking through the lines and following through, especially with that Imperial Sigil speed boost. But it looks like Blue City doing a great job to just land the poke and keep them at bay. Quarter War going to jump in there. Blue City misses the on point, and now ASN, they decide, okay, we'll just put the pressure on this Kraken, make them have to come to us, make them have to fight us, because Zaranul, in a very comfortable position here, is able to land the Heliogenesis. Divine Intervention was used, but Clockwork on Quarter War going to be doing a lot of work for their team, as Zaranul, however, going to be able to pick up a kill. I thought maybe they'd be able to get another Divine Intervention in there. Not sure why Quarter War jumped into this fight, however, as they're just going to be able to throw away their life. And the Ace only needed 3 seconds more until DefQ was up. and it looks like ASN going to go for the win with this one. They know that if they can catch out DefQ, who's going to run right to the entrance and find the rest of the team. Portal's going to go through, core collapse. DefQ's like, nope, I'm out. I'm going through your portal, getting away as far as I can. But meanwhile, Aeon is not going to let that happen, chasing him down. DefQ doing his best, however, to just dance and jump away. Doesn't even feel safe there. It's going to continue on all the way around, but I think it's too late. Meanwhile, Zarano was left alone in the base with the Kraken. But Blue City, DefQ are up. They could turn this fight around. A lot of damage going down onto Zarano, but it looks like Blue City almost taken down. Is going to be able to duel it out with Tezza Boy. Probably take them down with them, but Kraken finishes with Crystal alongside Aeon. They get the ace, but it's not going to be enough to stop the team of ASN, who make the second game comeback there.
Yeah, but I guess the real mistake coming up from the side of Impunity was the lack of coordination. But who cares? Maybe I'm wrong, but of course, to talk about this game, we have the awesome Minimizer.
Thank you for that. What a game between ASN and Impunity. ASN doing well to come out with the victory there. I think it was mainly just that, Impunity weren't together as a team. The Crystal Blackfeather had zero defense, was going full glass cannon, trying to do as much damage as possible. But ASN was just much better at diving in together, and Blackfeather never got on top of Celeste and